And I'm here at VMware Explore with Guy Bartram of Broadcom. Guy, how are you?
Good, thanks, Evan. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for being here. It's been an extraordinary week so far. So much news, announcement, excitement. Before we dive in, maybe introduce yourself, your team, and your mission within the VMware ecosystem.
Sure. So I am in the VMware Cloud Foundation business group. My role is managing product marketing for our cloud service provider program. This is a new program, previous to the VMware program, now under the Broadcom Advantage program, where we have about 2,800 either Pinnacle, Premier, or registered cloud service providers.
Yeah, that's impressive. And talk about some of the value specifically you're providing to those VMware cloud service providers. Historically and today, there's a whole suite of new capabilities you're bringing to market that looks quite exciting.
Yeah, I mean, for the last 8 years, I've been kind of in this position in VMware and now in Broadcom. We started off with a lot of SKUs and a lot of different capabilities that cloud providers could individually orchestrate to bring together a cloud solution for their customers. Over time, this has changed, and now we're really pleased with the new VCF portfolio. Basically, our cloud providers have a much simpler way of going to market and a much simpler way of deciding what type of cloud fabric they can offer their customers. We've integrated the products together into a single SKU with various add-ons that complement the cloud service that customers might want. And cloud providers are able to deliver private cloud, what we call managed private cloud, and also managed shared cloud or public cloud within their data centers. So they're able to differentiate with managed services on top of that. And the portfolio of solutions within VCF really provides them the capabilities to be able to provide those managed services. So things like the monitoring suite with what was ARIA, now VCF monitoring, the networking and security, being able to provide SOC services, zero trust networking, that type of thing. And of course, storage and compute. And now, great excitement around private AI.
Indeed, and we're going to dive into that. The other hot topic here at Explore is sovereign cloud and data sovereignty, data privacy, data protection, huge topics globally now, not just here in Europe. Can you break down, what is a sovereign cloud, what sets it apart from other cloud environments and kind of why you have that as such a sweet spot across the industry?
Sure, it's a really growing thing. And, when we look at just the geopolitical situation itself, you can see that the rise in data privacy and concern around data privacy due to geopolitics, malplayers, leaks of data, privacy data, and obviously things like GDPR trying to regulate and rule around privacy and to ensure customers' data is held available to them under their control and not leaving their regions, etc. So sovereign cloud, there is no real true industry definition around it. So what we did about 4 or 5 years ago is we introduced the Sovereign Cloud Initiative. For this, we designed a scale of particular things that we would believed were best practices for a sovereign cloud. And these included different types of areas. So operational sovereignty. The staff that actually run the cloud are vetted, they're local citizens, they're only able to access data with a proper management in place and auditing in place. The infrastructure itself, sovereignty. The data center locations must stay in geo, replication of data must not leave geo, including backups and archives. And then of course, data sovereignty. And that really starts getting into data classification. So understanding what your data is, whether it's public data, whether it's secure data or secret data. And what we've seen is a huge growth in critical national infrastructures, starting to actually look at hyperscale clouds and realizing that they can't actually guarantee jurisdictional control of the data.
Oh, wow.
And that's a serious problem for an organization. It may be a military defense, for example, who don't want their data leaving the boundaries of their jurisdiction. So the VMware Sovereign Cloud Initiative enables these partners to self-attest to these values, and And VCF is a very much a core part of that value. The private cloud completely in isolation, doesn't connect to any SaaS platform. All your data and metadata and accounting data is kept on site. It can be completely air-gapped as well for super secure solutions. That with the managed services and the specializations of cloud service providers, whether it's ISO standards or particular industry vertical compliance that they've got, when you wrap that all together, you get what we call a sovereign cloud.
Oh, that's fascinating. And the push towards navigating this sort of AI maze makes a lot of sense in a sovereign cloud environment. Maybe talk about that and what does it mean for responsible AI and some of the emerging guidelines, particularly in Europe around AI, responsible AI, data, testing and otherwise.
Yeah, so the EU has introduced the AI Act, which I think starts coming into force in February 25. And this is basically looking at, I would say it's like a risk assessment for AI. So it's looking at, what is the system supporting? Is it a high risk item? Does it have national value? What are the implications of this system going wrong? And then ensuring the correct controls are in place to guarantee that there is a certain amount of due diligence spent on this system, not just the data it's using, but also the users who are using it. So there will be various levels of training requirements for the entire kind of chain of the AI, and this will be from data learning and actually building the models. Sovereign principles really apply there. You don't want to put your secret data or your IP into a public cloud where it can be replicated across the world and you have no visibility on where it is. That probably needs to be in a secure, isolated environment, a private cloud on-prem or a private cloud hosted by one of our cloud providers who is sovereign. Then you've got the models you use. Are you going to be building your own model or are you going to be using a partial off-the-shelf model? Now, partial off-the-shelf will jumpstart you into your AI application, but you then have the worry about where's it come from, who's built it, who has touched this stuff, and again, it's a security concern when you start pulling in things from separate sources that you don't know or can't verify where those sources were and what it actually is doing. And then there's obviously the retraining of the model, live retraining or batch retraining. You're going to have to ensure that the data is secure and data privacy needs to be really adhered to here. The best AI solutions are going to be trained on the best data. The best data is typically not synthetic because that, rubbish in, rubbish out type scenario. You need real data to train your AI systems as, that's the preference. And that means you've got to bear in mind all of the privacy aspects of that data. And that has some serious constraints on really how you're going to train that AI. You need to involve legal early on in the stage of looking at AI, any AI application, to ensure that you're covered from privacy.
Yeah, lots to navigate there. It's a good thing you guys understand how to help clients navigate that maze because there's a lot going on. And talk about some of your cloud service provider partners. I don't want you to pick favorite children. You have thousands of them, but maybe there's one or two you could highlight on what they're doing explicitly with VMware these days. Okay,
so we have very large cloud providers whose cloud presence in Europe is on par with hyperscaler. So I probably don't have to mention the name, but I will. It's OVH Cloud. They're a great partner of ours.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah.
They're deploying full VCF solutions now. They're seeing a high interest from customers in growth, and they're looking to the future of deploying more applications through VCF and on top of VCF. We also have lots of partners working with our cloud service providers, providing things like app modernization services and data modernization. We do see now there is quite a large amount of workloads coming out of public cloud. And I think in America it's called repatriation. I don't know, we have a term over in Europe, so I'm going to say it's repatriation. that is a trend that's continuing to grow. There is more awareness now of data privacy, and particularly from things like CrowdStrike that we saw in July this year. Just the risk of holding all your data in a hyperscale cloud and the lack of control you have on it. So our cloud providers are, very much getting involved in, data migrations out of public cloud, and then helping customers make the right choice of which workload should go into which environment. They're not just VMware providers; they're also partners, AWS, Azure, Google, etc. So they're able to make a really good decision for customers as to where that workload should be best placed. And then they provide, cost optimization services, performance management services, monitoring services on top to ensure that it's continually optimized. It's a really great value us cloud service providers can bring. And we have, specialization all over the place. We have guys who are great at finance, guys who are great at healthcare, guys who address blue light services, so police, ambulance, and national services. There's a company in the UK, RedCentric. They do all of the number plate recognition systems in the UK. So they are running critical national infrastructure in many cases, and providing critical services to individual nations and customers.
Yeah, I love that. OVH is making a big push in the US and, shaking things up a bit because, a different approach is needed outside of big tech. What else are you excited about here at Explore? Any other announcements, news, and what are some of your takeaways as you head into the busy year-end push?
That's a good question. So obviously I sit in the VCF BU, so my focus is solely on VCF, right? So let's just get that one straight. So I'm very excited about the app modernization play. We've had infrastructure now for a long time in our CSPs, and to be quite fair, they've been building their own private and public clouds, with their own automation. We've just made it easier with VCF for them. They can now scale out VCF pods quite simply. All the automation lifecycle is going to increase their margins on those instances. Really, it's you've got the infrastructure, you've got the operations. You now need to focus on the data. That's where the money is going to be when you've got a highly efficient infrastructure. You need to start differentiating at the top level. So pulling in things like the Tanzu portfolio, pulling in Kubernetes as a service, table stake stuff really, but now also focusing on AI. Lots of cloud providers have already got some sort of AI practice. The last year everyone's got something to do with AI, but actually bringing that to reality and making that an as a service offering that competes to hyperscaler. And gives you that sovereignty, gives you that security and that control. It's a highly differentiated space. So I'm really excited about where we're going with things like AI and obviously the Tanzu portfolio and all of the goodness that comes in that.
Yeah, well, congratulations. A lot of customers out there who need help. So it's great to see you doubling down on innovation and R&D and investment in this space, and have a great Explorer.
Thank you very much. You too.
Thanks, Richard. Take care.